pulled up to this giant church parking lot that I knew was going to be free and open. And as you can see, I don't know how to flip this. Absolutely no cars here. Zero. Other than me. There's a couple cars downstairs. There's a ramp over there. But this is my 2000 Chevrolet Corvette. It is a base model, so it's got the Targa top that is removable. It is black and it's got the base wheels on there. In fact, it is completely 100% bone stock. Single owner car, and the owner, apparently, according to who I bought it from, I didn't buy it directly from the owner, I bought it from a dealership. According to the dealership, he was very anti-mod. Unfortunately, I think something was wrong with his wife's health, and he just elected to have the car be given to the dealership so they could find someone, aka me, to take care of it. But why did I go for a C5 Corvette at the young age of 26 years old? Why would I buy a car that's almost as old as I am? Well, there's a lot of reasons, but primarily, well, I wanted it, one, and two, it was in the spec that I wanted. So why did I want this car? For those of you who know me, I have a 2023 GR86 and it is an automatic. So the 2023 GR86 is the Toyota two-door coupe that is a four-cylinder. So it's very, very slow. It's not very fast. It is a good handling car, but it doesn't have a lot of power, and mine is an automatic. So yeah, shame on me. Whenever I made that decision, kind of wish I, knowing what I know now, I wish I would have gone back and changed that, but here we are. So the GR86 just wasn't cutting it for me. Was not fast enough, and it was not fun to drive. I did have my moments with it, and I'm grateful to that car for teaching me about cars and teaching me about modding cars, but it just wasn't my forever car. So I started looking for something else. I wanted American. I wanted an older car, okay? So, and I mean, I'm not super learned in BMWs. I'm not super learned in a lot of European cars, but I wanted an older car, and older JDM cars are like literally so expensive and very difficult to acquire in the year 2025. So really difficult on that end of things. And then I also felt like the American cars were just like something that I never really explored, and I felt like I wanted to delve into that a little bit more, and that's kind of where I stumbled across the C5. Starting from top to bottom, I didn't want a Mustang. I considered a 6th generation Mustang actually, but they just weren't my style. I think I was influenced because one of my close friends has one. I didn't want a Charger or a Challenger. I just think they're a little bit too bulky. And in this area, in many areas, I've heard they've been constantly getting stolen. So I didn't want to risk that. Not that the C5 is steel proof, but definitely wasn't my style to get a Charger. And then, so that brought me to Chevy. And I always thought Camaros were kind of cool ever since I was a little bit, when I was little. But I've always really loved the styling of the C5 Corvette. So I scoured everything, Carfax, Auto Trader, Facebook Marketplace. I paid a lot. I don't really want to tell this new channel starting off by giving an insight to my bad decisions, but I paid a good bit for this. It is black, exactly the color that I wanted. It is black interior, which is what I wanted as well. I did not want a beige or some sort of like red interior. I know C6s came with a lot of that. So it's everything I wanted, and it was very importantly never modified. I want to do all that sort of stuff here on my own. I just want to learn. And I did a lot of modifications to the GR86, but I had a lot of people help me with that. and I wanted to have a car where I did a lot of those modifications without taking it to a shop and stuff like that. Now, obviously, there's a lot of people that are going to say to supercharge this thing and stuff like that. I don't know if I'm mechanically inclined to do all of that. That is something that I'm thinking about maybe delving into in the future, but I digress. That's a problem for future me. That's a journey for future me. In terms of suspension, wheels, basically non-invasive stuff, I want to try to do that a lot on my own. And I've already started doing a lot of research and things like that. But most importantly, this car itself was never touched by the previous owner. I wanted it to be kind of the first one to get into that. And it wasn't a requirement, but that was definitely an upside of this particular car. So far, only things that have been done to it are these little tiny stick-on wide-angle blind spot mirrors, as well as this phone mount, because we need to have access. There's literally nowhere else. I was putting my phone in this cup holder for a little bit. But yeah, 6-speed manual. This car is a dream. I've only had it for a few months at this point, and I have more than half that time has been spent in winter storage in my parking garage at my apartment. So I haven't had a chance to really delve into learning this thing yet, but when I do, and I am in the process, I really think this is feeling like a forever car. I tell a lot of my friends that, and I tell my parents that this car is just a joy to drive. Also, now that I'm on the topic, whenever I got this car, like I said, my GR86 is automatic, so I did not know how to drive manual when I picked this thing up in Lidditz, Pennsylvania. Whenever I went up there, for reference, I live in the DMV or DC area, Virginia side. Whenever I went up there, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I had driven manual one time in my friend's B58 Supra. Pretty interesting car to learn, or quote unquote try manual for the first time on. I watched a bunch of YouTube videos, and I went all the way up there with my dad and my girlfriend. I paid for the car, and I drove it 140 miles home. I stalled probably 50 times, but I made it back, and I started learning. And that is honestly one of the, I don't know if it's best, worst, whatever days of my life. It's definitely just one that's going to stick into my brain probably until I die. That day was just so head first jump into the water with no regard. Obviously my dad was there to save me if I really needed someone to figure it out, but for the most part it was just me figuring it out and trying to not crash and die, and taking it slow and trying to figure out the feel of this car and how to drive stick, and it was just a great experience. Looking back on it, really, really dumb, but a great experience nonetheless. So immediate plans for this car. I'm really big into JDM stuff. As you could tell from me talking about it earlier, I am just a big fan of the styling. I like lowered cars, and the C5 is pretty low, completely stock. I haven't lowered it at all, and it's obviously not an SUV. So I'm gonna go in that direction most likely. And I don't know, I'm just gonna kind of see where things go. In terms of pros and cons of this car, I think it looks great. Pros first, I think it looks awesome. It drives really well. The old owner did not really abuse this from what I can tell. So for the most part, drives like a dream, like I said. And obviously, all the things that I've been praising this car for earlier in this video. Cons about this car, there's a few. I'm already starting to feel out some of the electronic issues. So my turn signals don't always work. I think it has something to do with the hazard switch on the inside, which is something that I'm gonna have to jump into and fix at some point, because apparently, according to forums, a lot of C5s have this issue with the hazard switch going bad, and for some reason GM decided to relay the turn signals through the hazard switch, I guess it was just easier to have it in one harness or whatever it was. So if the switch goes bad, the turn signals will not function properly. They'll either won't work, or they'll have what is called a geezer light turn on. It's like a not the official term, but basically a warning that you've left your turn signals on. That'll just spam, or it'll hyper flash. I think I didn't say that. Hyper flash the turn signal really fast, or just like completely shut off, or a combination of all of those things. So that's pretty annoying. But definitely a very solid platform to start working on and start learning on. I've always heard about the LS engines being super, you know, legendary, essentially, in American car culture. And I'm blessed enough at a young age to have myself a hold of one. So that's gonna wrap up this video on how I acquired my midlife crisis car at the age of 26. So I would say, like, you know, 24 years early if you want to use 50 as a midpoint, a standardized midpoint for midlife crisis. But yeah, this is my car. Subscribe to the channel if you're interested in following along with me in this journey. But someone's revving over there. Yeah, it's a great car, and I'm really excited to be its owner.